Welcome, Q&R Code. This is Quinn, and it's snowing in the Denver area right now, which apparently it's day one of the National Stock Show, and I guess it's a thing that the stock show brings winter weather, so here we are today, Denver legend or lore coming, it's speaking for
Coming
itself.
straight to life.
Yeah.
Let's think of some other Denver lore. What, of course, immediately comes to mind is Lucy the Blue Horse.
Yeah, Lucifer, speak of the devil on the YouTube
And they shot up
page.
here.
Yes.
Dad, if you hear any meowing, that's a cat, not a baby. Oh,
Speak up.
shy. She's feeling so shy.
She looks so good with my notebook, which
Guys,
I
you
just
can't
wanted.
imagine the pain that Quinn and I already felt from being on a study abroad where I knew I wasn't going to see my twin for months. Mind you, we barely ever even did a sleepover away from each other growing up. We shared an apartment first 2 years of college. So the pain, the agony, of course, was very present. And then Quinn sends me a picture and she's like, I caught one of the barn cats and I'm bringing home this kitty. Tiny baby cat. I'm like, okay, bro. So this kitty is gonna be all grown up out of being a kitty when I come home. She was still very
She
cute and very kitty,
was
but
just pick up by the scruff a bull tiny little kitty that had the highest pitch. I'm so glad, like, that is something where I will feel so blessed for my phone and technology that I have videos of her at that age doing her little cry. I can't believe how high pitched of a little tiny cat squeal it is when she used to
also her
vocalize.
wriggly little tail, like a
Yeah.
kitty tail and a puppy tail is crazy. You're like, there are bones in that.
They're so cute. It's crazy. Animal tails. Oh, so good.
Speaking
I don't know.
of animal tails, do we have some animal tails for you? Am I right, Quinn?
That's a great lead in, Riley. Very smooth. Today,
Cute.
we are having a bit of a farmstead slash homestead. I don't feel right calling it a farmstead, but sometimes I I call my abode with animals many different things, and I would never want to offend anybody by, calling it the wrong name.
I didn't want to use the wrong term.
Yeah, wouldn't want to call myself a
However,
cowboy.
yeah,
Um,
I know that a lot of people's feathers might be ruffled if they knew that I will refer to it as your ranch when I'm talking to other people. Often I say, yeah, my sister's ranch. And oh boy, I know you don't run a ranching operation, but
no.
arose by any other name.
Yeah, I do not run a cattle ranch, and that would be a very, very unfair description of what I do. I just have a quaint little
But a
early
humble mule.
homestead, um, which it's so cool on our property. I don't know if I've shared this on the Q&R code that we have our house that we live in is an it's a 1900s house, but I don't know how early because the first rendition of the house was super, super early and it was one room, which is now our kitchen. Just one small room was the whole house. But on our property, we also have an old 1800s homestead building that was the first building structure built on this whole, like, ginormous surrounding area, which is so cool and crazy.
It's also a testament to some sturdy building methods because, sure, it's not maybe in A1 shape because it hasn't been upkept for that whole time. However, with
Yeah.
the howling winds and all of the weather, and It has not gone down. It's still
Oh,
standing. Four
not
walls,
not at all gone
homestead.
down. Yeah, it's definitely not like some of the structures which I'll get into about our road trip to North Dakota to pick up our new mule Jimbo. We saw incredible structures, as you can imagine, from the drive Colorado through northern North Dakota. But yeah, it has four sturdy walls. It's not broken and crumpling, which is, there some slats have come loose from the siding and stuff that I want us to actually put a little work back into. But
You
um,
know who lives in the homestead building now?
a
Bunnies.
stinky raccoon
Oh, a stinky raccoon and a whole herd of bunnies.
and flock of mice.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a rager in there.
And imagine the amount of spiders. But that old homestead building, I don't know, it's so cute. I just think that's special, but also need I remind that it's not like people settling this land. We're the first people on this land. This is native land that we're on, and I think a lot about that, and it makes me feel very humbled and lucky that I get to live my little homestead life caring for animals that I love so much, and that I just feel so fulfilled by the fact that the animals are also giving back to the land by grazing it rotationally and fertilizing it and like getting I just think that equine should be running on this land. It's so special and it just feels meant to be like it's the only right right thing that should be happening on these
Hmm.
like low foothills. Um but yeah, homestead updates.
We can't wait to hear about Jimbo, the cutest guy one ever did see. And every time someone sees him, they are like, oh my gosh, does he have little stripes on his knee knuckles? And yes,
Knee
he does.
knuckles. His knee knuckles. Riley's like those joint things, knuckles.
So cute. And also, he's fuzzy.
He's so fuzzy and has such an excellent winter coat when we were there. So,
Wait,
where do
before
I
Quinn
begin?
starts on this story, let me just put in my little aside that it, harkening back to Quinn saying there are all sorts of mules on the East Coast up for sale. I don't know, it must be, I don't know why people get mules here, but everyone so far in this community that I've said, oh, my sister got a mule, has been like, what for? And has been so confused and surprised, even though there is like a good horse community around here, but people literally have the impression that like mules are just a barnyard animal, like a kid children's book barnyard animal, that they're like, I can't understand why she would want a mule. That is never the reaction when I say about her having horses, and I'm like, you don't understand. Mules, A, are awesome and useful, and B, look at Jimbo. He's so
Yeah.
cute. What do you mean?
I wonder if people, I thought people over there would be for sure using them for hunting, but that's definitely, a lot of what people still perceive mules to be for is like a lot of the more old school guys have their mules waiting for them for hunting season and get on and haven't done work to prepare them for that. And it's just like, yep, they're my packing mule or whatever. But those are the people that aren't super invested in horsemanship or mulemanship. Um, but that does make me sad to think of animals just. This is where I'm like, people don't get it twisted. Animals working equine can be so happy and so fulfilled and so satisfied and love their life so much. And that's why Riley and I, as animal stewards in any way, are always trying to improve. We do not think we know it all, but we love to talk about it because we're always growing. We do
We
not
know
know it
that
all.
we don't know too
We
much,
know
but
we know a drop in the bucket, but we are so passionate about learning, and it just has come really naturally to us to have the desire to learn. about them, and that's so fun to me. It's just the
Yeah.
most fulfilling thing
Desire
ever.
to learn, period. Keeping that
Hmm.
curiosity. I was with my older neighbor friend this morning, and she said that she just thinks that you have to stay curious and having wonder for the world. Otherwise, when you're her age, she's like, what would we do? Our lives would be void if we didn't
Hmm.
hold on to that interest. So I can't wait to hear and am very interested to hear about Quinn's mule journey, where that took her all the way up north.
All the way just 25 miles from Canada. So that was a
Dang.
that was a very
It's
fun,
like,
honestly.
well, there's the best reward at the end of this road trip, so no problemo.
I had my eyes on the prize, and um yeah, I just will tell you this mule purchasing process, when we were shopping, I learned so much about the equine market and the mule market specifically, which I it was very eye-opening, and I realized, yeah, we're making this decision. We're going to travel this far because this is like the mule that we feel in our hearts best about that we've seen so far. And I just felt, I know it might sound a little crazy, and I had multiple phone calls with the seller, but it just came over me after we saw a different mule. Our first mule we saw in person, actually, who I also really enjoyed, but then it just occurred to me that I was like, I know Jimbo in North Dakota is meant to be my mule, and I will do whatever it takes to make this happen. And so we
I will ride
booked.
my existing horse there if that's what I
Yeah,
have to do.
can you imagine like Game of Thrones style
Brutal.
riding through the. At least, you know what? Game of Thrones was during an ice age, and we are having a.
Is that true?
Bro,
I
Game of
guess that
Thrones,
wall, that whatever was
it's
going on
winter
beyond the wall. It's winter. But it's
right
not an
here.
ice age. There's like people in Croatia fucking sunbathing by the sea. I think they just lived in a colder environment, but I like it and I think it's funny and
This is
it's not
not.
real, so it might as well be during an ice age as far as I
It
know.
was giving Ice Age with
I thought
even
it was giving very like medieval mystical times.
desolate winter. Okay, well,
You've heard of Christian Girl Fall, but have you heard of Desolate Winter?
I'm actually
Desolate
shocked you
Winter
guys.
Core.
It's snowing. It's really snowing right now. So I'm not really snowing to what I would have said growing up in Jackson, Wyoming as a kid, but for this Denver, Colorado winter, oh my gosh. Um, Anywho, so we set up dates to go pick up Jimbo, and it just so happened that the best time that Sean and I, the time we had off and could make it work, is over New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So,
Happy New Year!
happy Year of the Mule, the done
My
mule Jimbo.
gosh.
I don't think I get to make that claim, but that's how it feels for us. So, we checked him out in person on New Year's Eve, picked him up that day. It was 4 degrees in where we were in North Dakota that day picking him up. So, yes, he's so fluffy, has a very healthy and well grown in winter coat, and is so cute. And I felt so good because as soon as so the seller had told us that he was like the first mule always to greet you at the fence and everything, and sent me a picture that morning when we were on our way of him at the fence. And then the next morning when I went out, he was the first out of his herd, came right up to the fence to say hi to us. I was like, oh. um and I mean, immediate love at first sight. He just has such a sweet demeanor. Also, immediate understanding that this is going to be a challenge and that we have some serious training to do at first sight as well.
Yes, naturally so.
Yeah, naturally so. There's going to be training any animal you do, and that's a huge part of the reason that we want a another equine is to have another equine to learn and to train and to go through this process and continue to work with more equine. I've worked with so few equine, like really Ghost and Annie and Captain, but Ghost and Annie are by far the equine I have worked on training with most in my life. So I'm just ready to keep learning from more. But yeah,
Captain was the most already trained equine that you've had the pleasure of being along his side for.
yes, definitely. He was a amazing boy, but also when he transitioned from my grandparents' lives to our lives, he lost weight so quickly, and we realized that he had Cushing's, and so his whole life with us was also we just had to be a little more sensitive. Like we weren't going to go hard with training because a lot of the time he had not nearly enough weight on and was just not feeling the best in his body. So
Yeah, he was kind of doing his retirement years at your house, even though it's not
oh
like he was
yes.
fully retired, but like I never got to ride. But yeah, I'm just of course, we're don't want to put the cart before the horse, if you will. But I'm so excited for you guys and the adventures you're gonna have with Ghost and Jimbo and Annie Girl, but and others in the future. But it's nice when you've spent this time. I think a lot of people that are thinking about life with horses were and are kind of surprised to hear that you were like caring for horses that you weren't necessarily riding or getting
Mm-hmm.
to have that side of the experience with, but that's such a part of horse ownership that you have to make the right call for your herd and the individual horse, and it's not all fun and pony games with these guys.
Yeah. Of course, personally, my goal is with all of my equine to see them through their full lives because that's just what feels best to me. And I know that that doesn't work for everybody, but definitely once you have a horse of that age with Captain, who was my grandpa's team roping horse and also just such a sweetie, like what, as if I pawn him off to another person to care for. It was so sweet. He's like such this sweetie guy, and Sean and I got to have such we learned so much from Captain that we would have never had the amount of information we do now on caring for a senior horse and other, various issues. I feel like that prepared us so well. Like, horses really are the best teacher. I just am obsessed. Horse girl through and through. But it
Also, can
was
we share that um about your friend that came home this week?
about my friend that came home this week.
Your hide.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you're
That
being
is
private about that.
No, that is something that I was planning on sharing with our little homestead updates. Um,
Okay.
remember that we had two Boer goats, Alvin and Teddy, and then this past spring, around the same time, within a less than a couple weeks of each other, Captain and Teddy both died. But Teddy was the first larger animal because he was large. He's like a 200 plus pound goat. Um, but he was such a good, sweet goat. I just love you listeners know how I feel about my goats. They seriously, these 4-H kids, I've got to give them serious props for loving on these goats and teaching them about life because they are just easy, sweet, awesome, funny companions that like I just get to off leash have walk around with me on my property. It's the best thing ever. And I love camping with them and everything. But anyway, when Teddy passed Sean and I have been really like into learning more about hunting and learning more about also animal products and animal skins and working with leather and um, hunting specifically. We know that part of harvesting an animal is skinning them, or you, I guess it depends on how you want to harvest, but you can skin an animal like we have our beautiful sheep skins, one that I'm sitting on, and that to me it's just like a really special thing. Animal skins, if that animal has to or dies anyway or is being used for meat, whatever it is, to me, the whole animal utilization process is so intriguing and special and important to me. And Sean and I decided to skin our goat, Teddy, and did that ourselves and had a tanner help us um, tan his hide so that we would be able to keep that and use that for warmth in the winter and also get to learn that process with our buddy that we had just lost. And it was really, really special. And finally getting that back and getting to see Teddy's awesome coat, so fluffy, and it held so well in the process, went so well. And I'm just like so proud of us and thrilled that we did that, because already just having that layer of warmth and considering the fact that we went through that learning and doing something vulnerable that's like way different than the norm. It does feel, I know different people have different opinions on doing something like that, but for me it just feels so aligned, and I'm excited to have had that experience going into hopefully hunting for food in the future.
Yeah. I'm proud of you guys for taking on that. I guess it's new to you. Like we've said before, we didn't grow up hunting or knowing how to prep or skin an animal and about the preservation process, and it's just a learning curve and it's a vulnerable thing to do, I think. And I'm so excited to see in person. Obviously, I haven't gotten to see it before, but I just saw it and thinking immediately, oh my gosh, Teddy, like you sent us a photo, and it
Yeah.
just immediately brought back so many memories of him being a silly goat running down the driveway with us and stuff. That it's just kind of a cool memento. And yeah, though I don't think this is the same thing, honestly it gives me a little more compassion for people that do taxidermy, because in the past I have definitely thought like it's a little odd to maybe stuff your dog that was your pet dog or something, but now I'm like, I can see how that is also a special thing in its own right, and any of these sorts of choices aren't the same across the board for everyone. But yeah, it's, I think that it's good to have different experiences like challenge your conceptions of ethics, because as we know, ethics are extremely complicated, and anyone that listens to this podcast knows that at least we think about these things and we do our best. We're leading with good intentions. So
Yeah, we worked with a taxidermist directly. We actually called around to several places, and like most places wouldn't do it. I, of course, being the like go-getter I am, was like, we could do the whole tanning process too. And with how busy we were in that season of our lives with both of our jobs and everything, the commitment that is, I we just had to be more realistic and realize that we couldn't commit to that process right then, but we still really wanted to make it happen. So I'm proud because we called through a list of several taxidermists that were like, no, I don't do something like a goat in this area, like a domestic goat. Um, but
it's like
one
he's a
person,
little feral.
yeah, because they're like, this is your pet, and I'm like, yes.
It's like,
Um,
no, I hunted this goat.
well, or as if it's like, for dairy or for meat or whatever. I'm like, yes, no, this is just my pet goat. But, and even this guy that we took him to was like, yeah, I definitely wouldn't usually do something like this, but I decided to do it for you guys. But he spent time talking to us and educated us about multiple parts of the process and was so excited to talk about it. And he's so passionate about his job as well. And I think like by far the more I've learned about it, I totally see where that is like such a beautiful art to be someone who truly cares about it and is like putting heart and soul into and is an animal lover. And um yeah, I think opening your mind to things is really important. But
Our
that's
friend
so that was
Ethan,
such a
that's a
cool.
hunter, just a quick aside, and
Yeah.
he likes to use as much of the animal as he can as well, but he doesn't do like taxidermy mounts because those are really expensive, but is learning how to just like, well, I shouldn't say learning, he's done it for a long time, but it's a work in progress to get really good at getting like a really clean mount. And he's been processing his like skulls that still have the antlers attached at
Cool.
home by himself, which is hard when you're living in a little like apartment space. To it's you know there's a reason that sometimes it's more convenient to take these to someone else that has the space for it and all the materials and stuff. But I think he did a pretty good job. Like, they look pretty clean, white, and spick and span. And I mean, that's a lot of work, like you said, to take on doing it. The do it yourself, it's great. You guys know we love a do it yourself sort of situation. But also, some of these things are kind of like time sensitive and you really
Yeah.
gotta get to it. And if you're starting with no knowledge of it, no materials to do the learning, to do it right and safely, all of that, just you can add
That
on in the
was
future. Maybe
exactly.
down
And
the
that's
line learn more.
Sean thankfully had watched, skinning videos multiple times trying to learn about that. But for us, we're like, this is new for us. This is already a new skill that is time sensitive, that it was kind of a trip. Like, Teddy was a really big loss for me because, first of all, I freaking loved him so much and I thought we would have another 10 years together. And
Mhm.
because then once they're down, you have to act and decide. Like, thankfully, it was a freezing cold night, and we were just able to let him spend the night where he was in his home when he passed and decide what to do in the morning. But then we have to get like right to it. So it was just intense to feel like I just lost this animal and have to decide like what I'm going to do with their body.
Mhm.
That's really intense, but I felt very touched by that experience, handling him and digging a grave for him and like going through all of that with Sean. It's definitely like a very special experience and felt like, oh my gosh, it actually, this sounds so huge, but it actually made me feel less afraid to die watching, like going through this.
Yeah,
Because
no.
death is something I think humans have such, it takes such issue with that most,
Mhm.
my understanding is most other species don't really consider it in the same way that we do. And yes, there are instincts to survive and everything, very very intense animal instincts to survive. But then it just felt like even watching Alvin, Teddy's boar goat brother, um, accept this, like that transition. Anyway, I didn't mean to spend this much time talking about that, but I think it's really special to get to share about.
Oh, it is. Thank you for talking about it. And like, that's something I don't really have any experience with, I feel like, because we had, dogs that died growing up, but
And
that was
hamsters.
well, hamsters, I know exactly what to do with. You dig a hole in the backyard and you put them in the ground deep enough that the dog doesn't dig them back up.
Yeah.
and then you
and then put a
nail
little
one
cross.
board to another. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like a little wooden cross for
Hamster
them.
graveyard.
It's the classic Western goodbye. Um, but no, with the dogs, our parents obviously were responsible for dealing with that. And that's something that I think farm kids and ranch kids and kids involved in all those aspects of like rural life or hunting or whatever, I think can be a very different perspective, where as a child you're having these experiences and kind of having more of a grasp on mortality, and in a lot of ways the quote unquote modern lifestyle, but like an urban modern lifestyle, you maybe are less in touch with that. That being said, everyone has experiences with death and mortality, and I think you continue to learn and change from them as time goes on. Like, I definitely have deaths in my life that feel like, wow, that was a milestone one. And then there are ones that it's like, yeah, that's just kind of what happened along the way. But I think this was a milestone experience for you guys. And then, of course, it was highly emotional for myself too, of course. But Quinn and Sean were really their parents for the end, when then Captain also passed so shortly after. That was like, that I think was also big, being a horse that I'm trying to remember, Quinn, but I feel like I can't recall the last time that one of Grandpa's horses passed away that he hadn't already sold. Like, I feel like, I don't know if I remember that as much.
TC, but we weren't there to see it happen. Like, it's, way different when you're there also in person handling the coordination of that. But yeah, that's why I said I cannot be held responsible for the decision I made to adopt Bunny, because that intense, like, double whammy. I the other day to Sean was like, I'm sorry, because his sister was here over Christmas, which was great, and they were having some deep conversations, which was also great. And Sean was realizing, like, it's important to me. Sean has realized over the past months that it's important to him that we don't just continue to add on animal after animal after animal without having some long pause. And I totally understand that. And I was like, I feel like usually, we always have made all of our animal decisions together, like we're both making it. And he was like, I feel like you peer pressured me into getting Bunny. And I'm like, okay, I was beside myself. You're right. And that one was crazy.
It's
You
like
walked in the shelter.
One time she
I'm like, give a girl a break. I have tried.
Okay, I brought up an animal one time to you, and I'm hearing this.
So anyway, but now Bunny's so great, and he's almost 11 months old, and it's just me and him home today. Pinkerton and Sean are at the office, so he's come so far. It's amazing.
Mommy Sunday,
Yeah.
Boy Mom Day.
Yeah. Mommy and Bunny date day. But anyway, back to Jimbo. So
Okay.
Sean and I had the trailer all packed up and ready to go to head out early in the morning as we could on the 30th. So we traveled. I think that the travel time ended up being just over 15 hours in that day, but it was so cool. Like, we had a great trip. So going through South Dakota, we also, let me say, speaking of skins, like I have 2 sheep skins that I've collected. This one that I'm sitting on right now from Little Creek in Montana, that is the most bougie, beautiful Icelandic sheep skin that is one of my most prized possessions in my life, that this got used, that would otherwise be going to the dump for if you don't decide to go through the process of skinning them and you're just getting meat. So I Love it. And I layered that passenger seat up. Actually, Sean did it for me. Passenger princess to the max, lining my seat with my sheepskins and a
It's like,
blankie.
are my slippers microwaved?
Yeah. No, Sean literally had my setup so nice. And yeah, I was
Hot water bottle
as comfy
full,
as can
or
be. Unfortunately, I decided that wasn't going to make it with me, but we had plenty of beautiful stuff to go around and had our Yeti cooler full of some good snacks like cheese and crackers and salami and yogurt and a little bit of veg. We brought some string cheeses. Um,
nice.
and unfortunately, I had gone to Trader Joe's the night before to stock up some groceries. I did forget my couple fancy drinks that I bought for us in the fridge and noticed when we were 10 minutes away from the house and was like, ugh, okay, well, not turning around for it.
Yeah.
But the drive through Denver was so pretty at that time because it was just barely as we were getting into passing the city, the sun's starting to peek out where it's shining on the buildings, and that's when I love a cityscape most, is either in the bright morning time or first early crack of dawn morning time, or the evening when you can see the city lights. But this was pretty because like the colors were reflecting off of the buildings, and I was like, okay, this is really special and I appreciate you. And then as we kept driving north, we got to see the sunrise over the Rockies and everything. So that was very nice to start the day. And then just saw really cool stuff traveling across a lot of plains. Like we saw the biggest train full of coal that I have ever seen, and I was like, whoa.
Because it was post Christmas time. They were like, we
Yeah.
had to give out a lot of this.
But even though I have all sorts of feelings about different energy sources, the fact is we need energy, and like I cannot sit here and be a hypocrite when I have my lamp turned on and all of the ways that I live, I obviously use energy. So I was like, that was cool to see and be like, wow, clocking, look at all that coal, holy shit. But also so many beautiful, as we kept going north, there was a little bit of some dusting of snow. We saw a ton of speed goats and beautiful little hilly, so maybe some people would call some of these things mountains. It was more like a molehill. But lots of,
That's me out here when I'm in
yeah,
Shenandoah. I'm like, oh.
yeah, they're not like the Tetons, they're not like the Rocky Mountains, but
I love a rolling hill.
and just so many. Sean and I saw thousands of bales of round bales of hay in different pastures. Like we were like, what we would do to be able to take one of these home with us. These are not getting used. Like half of these are not going to end up getting used. Please, hay here is so expensive.
Hey,
And
donations.
the
I wish they had
seller,
a hay food bank.
that would be awesome. The seller of Jimbo, they use a round bale, and we commented on the bales because we're like, must not be any problem to get hay around here. He said, oh yeah, this round bale, $40. I'm like, that round bale
like,
that feeds for weeks.
It's like, how do you feel if I fill up as much as I can in my trailer of that for $20?
Which we for free filled up a ginormous trash can full for Jimbo, which was nice, but I'm like, I wish we could travel down with a round bale on our trailer, on top of the trailer. Let me just tell you that is what we spend in a week with having two equine probably. But the drive was really, really actually so special and cool for us. Of course, it can be a lot to sit for that long and, but we were getting to drive with such anticipation. Like tomorrow, our trailer is going to have a mule in it. And we just saw such beautiful sights. Like, I thought it was so cool for us to now also having gone to our clinic in Artesia, New Mexico earlier this year. Sean and I have basically gone almost to Canada with how high we were in North Dakota, all the way down through nearly, like, we missed part of Texas, but nearly all the way down into Mexico, like, have gone this straight line. Um,
Yeah,
which I
that's
think is
cool.
so cool to have seen that stretch of the country.
Yeah. Because now Brayden and I have seen the
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
horizontal stretch many times, but I haven't gone up or down in a while. Like, we haven't been to
Yeah.
Canada in so long. We used to
I
go
know.
visit family in
I
Alberta, but
I want to go
sometimes,
to our family farm, Riley. Like,
me too.
I think we need to make that happen. We have a family farm in Canada that I think is so badass, and we need to go learn from them.
Yeah, it would definitely be really cool. And I'm like, I think I don't know if I'm brave enough to want to do that as a winter trip at this point. I think maybe that's like
Mm,
a more fair weather journey
yes.
because it's goodness gracious, Jimbo is probably right now like, okay, I need to kind of take off my coat. I guess it is snowing
He
today though.
Yeah, thankfully he's been totally fine. Like, he's by no means is he overheated. He's probably, yeah, thrilled right now with how the wet little slushy rain situation we had starting this morning. But it was so nice when we got to our location. Well, first of all, we got to our location and it was not the right location. And you know when you're at the end of a road trip and you're like, we texted, we're like, hey, we're here, there's like no service, but we're like, send, and it sent. And finally, after a while, no one had come out. We're like, we need to move, this is like really
Quinn
weird.
just has a full horse trailer attached to a truck in some
Yeah,
rando's driveway, and it's like,
it at
eh.
night, and yeah, it's like 11 p.m. or yeah, a little bit later, and finally figured out. He's like, oh, you can't go to the address, you have to go to the specific pin or it takes you to somewhere else's house. I'm like, okay, well, anyway, we put it in and it's like 20 minutes later we got there. But they had a very, very sweet little hunting cabin on their property set up for us. That's this two-level adorbs cabin that the second we got there, Sean and I were like, this has got to be their little hunting cabin because it has a balcony on the second floor too. We're like, adorable. And so that was really fun and sweet to have them invite us in to stay. It's not like they tried to charge us Airbnb price or something. And they ended up telling us that we were the first people outside of their family to have ever stayed in it. I'm like,
An
okay.
honor.
But they just had great manners. They were so nice. Like, the seller and his family, he was there with his son and then his other baby son that's 2 years old that came out when it's literally 4 degrees out in his little snowsuit and was so cute and sweet to talk to. He's the type of kid that you're like, oh my gosh, you are fun because you're like engaging with me, and yes, acting a little shy but adorable. And then they put him up on Jimbo sitting on his back. I'm like, I cannot believe that I am buying a mule that the same day has had a baby child sitting on his back.
Oh,
But yeah, the vet check went
that's
well.
so
We
cute, the whole situation. And
Yeah, it
Sean,
was.
I know, has a little red nose from the cold.
Yeah, it was cold. We were both like, yep, it's cold.
Did you
um
have that hat on?
yes, I did. And it kept
Nice.
it kept my head warm, especially when I really pull it down. Um, but we had, yeah, that it's a whole other story. For just the town was very, very small town, quirky vibes. We were able to go get a breakfast sandwich at the gas station. I ate more gas station food on this road trip than I have in a long time, or maybe ever. Um, because that's what was available. But the gas station coffee, I was like, how do people live off of this? I wish Sean, who has been in the past like a blue collar boy, he has no problem gulping a 24-ounce one of the coffees. I think he was getting 20-ounce, but coffees,
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, no problem.
I also do not. When Brayden and I stayed at what was it called? Like it was I think a sleep in, and they had coffee that you could get. Brayden got us a cup, and I took one sip and was like, obviously I'm not gonna finish this coffee.
Yeah,
I'm not a coffee drinker like that. Like maybe
no.
some people just need it, but for me, I'm like that's foul. I won't. I
Because I was
also
on the road trip, I just kind of did have lower standards, but I put some of the
yeah.
like machine hot chocolate in it and made it a little better.
Smart. I like that. As a kid, that just reminded me of getting machine hot chocolate at the warming hut on the ski hill, but just being like, and so much whipped cream to kind of zhuzh
Yeah.
it up.
Which having whipped cream in that situation does make it way better.
Of
Or even
course.
the tiny, we were like, these tiny marshmallows. It's one thing to have mini marshmallows, but the tiny marshmallows are just not actually marshmallows. Like, why
No.
don't they have the
They're
same
like the
texture at all?
cereal marshmallows where you're like, you can't call what's in a Lucky Charm a marshmallow. They
Okay,
should be
but
called something
those
else
I haven't had in way too long.
to judge. I I don't know if they would do it for. I think it might be one of those things. Like I remember when in my more recent past, we went with you and mom, and we were on a road trip and ended up getting a quesadilla at Taco Bell, and I was like, oh. Just way not even as good as I remember it. It's not like I remember it as being this magical thing, but I had it and it was just could have been a bad day or whatever. I'm not hating for those of you that enjoy, but it didn't hit the spot for me at all. And that is the blessing and curse of learning to cook for yourself is that you will be like, oh, when I would
It's got
absolutely
nothing on
have
me.
just made myself a much more delicious quesadilla and been more satisfied and not
Ugh,
spent money on this.
that
Like,
sounds so
that's
good right now. Yeah, I mean, for me, that would be purely for nostalgia's sake to be having a few of the Lucky Charms marshmallows, but just like how I would feel about the Hello Kitty gums that we used to
okay.
have.
Of course, I want a little square of Hello Kitty gum. Anyone, please shout out if at a toy store or candy store in your youth they sold little packets of three
Paper
squares,
wrapped.
paper foil
They had the
wrapped
little, like, yeah,
Hello Kitty, grape,
pink and, yeah,
apple.
pink and purple, pretty much, or what I. Oh, they did have the green apple too,
Yeah,
which I was
apple.
always like, yes. Um, Anywho, let's see what else. I should say, I mean, I could talk for a lot longer about this Jimbo getting processed. In short, I will say, um, he
Best day
has a
ever.
bolting, yeah,
Oh.
best day ever. In short, best day ever. In long, he does struggle with bolting very, very much so on the ground. Basically, just having no wherewithal of the fact that he has a halter on with a lead rope and he's just not broke to lead. So he will kind of stand on top of you and run through your space and bolt across the horse inn that you're staying at on New Year's Eve, all the way across the property, and the person who's hosting you is on her adorable little great quarter horse mares, loping the barrels in her arena, and my mule just runs out of my hands across hundreds of yards across the property into her arena while she's doing that. So
It's like apologies. We're new to one another. And I didn't know it was like that.
yep, he was very night one, when we got into that place, we're the only other people, us and the owner. It was a great setup. Honestly, we're so grateful. Sorry, girl, for the mule rodeo. I'm sorry. But he was alone in his pen and could see across the way that there are three mares who he's like, Mommy?
How tempting.
And he did very quickly pretend to jump over the fences to them. So anyway, we have stuff to work on. But we're so excited. My shoulder is finally feeling better from being thrown out for almost a week.
You should just have your shoulder blades locked down, core braced always.
Believe me, you think I didn't try? I tried. He's got donkey strength, which I knew. Someone I work
You need to
with.
have donkey strength. Come on.
Someone I
Handle
work
it.
with is so funny, and he's like, "Girl, I told you that," because he grew up with like his grandparents having mules and donkeys. I'm like, you have to understand, I already knew, but that doesn't make it any less
Doesn't make me have donkey strength.
unideal for him to bolt through my hands, and I just have no chance. Also, had no leather gloves on, just rope burn through my palms, and I'm like, believe me, I tried.
I can't imagine how bad I'm glad that you are feeling okay, because my fingers, after certain times that Roger has lunged or yanked on a leash, and he's a 60-pound dog, not an equine, and you're like, oh, okay, pull my entire pinky off, please.
Oh, my dog is laying on his back
But
with.
anyway, you guys, we could have so many animal updates and more to come for sure. But I was so excited to hear about my new nephew that I love so much with all my heart. I miss my other little nieces and nephews all the time,
They miss you. They love their auntie
and
so much.
aw, and Roger would.
I
Roger,
miss him.
I have to say, Quinn and Sean really have no excuse to not feel like extremely loved little auntie and uncle by this boy, because he doesn't necessarily embrace all. He knows his people, and
Yeah.
I can't
He
wait for
never
him
makes
to
us
meet.
feel threatened or unsafe at all. He's such a good boy. Unless he attacks one of our dogs. And then that's obviously just not ideal. But
Can we
I
just
don't even feel afraid of him. I don't feel like he's ever going to redirect on me. But I am like, brother, that's not cool.
yeah, it's mutually felt uncool about, and at least we can give him the little bit of credit that none of our chickens or other animals have ever died from an encounter with him. So,
Which is huge and crazy to be able to say that. I just this morning did a training session with Bunny's breakfast in the chicken coop with the chickens, and our new chicks, this batch from this fall, are so people broke, which I'm stoked about. But they just come right up to me. So they come right up to me and Bunny just looks down at them
calling
and
your
looks back.
chickens people broke, Quinn. You're an insufferable horse girl. But I love it. But yes, I mean, he's amazing with those chickens. Obviously, you guys have practiced with him since he was little, so that doesn't hurt. But even then, not all puppies could have that disposition around little chickens.
No, which he definitely will be like, focus down on them, and then he's just like, okay, rip back up to me. So it's not that he doesn't clock them, but thankfully he did one time lay his mouth on them, but that's because Pinkerton had pinned a chicken to the ground, and then he's like, whoa, I'm gonna get on the other end of it, which that chicken lived and is fine and is here to tell the tale. Soot, I'm so sorry. She had a limp for a couple weeks, but she is
So it is a hardy
back
girl.
and sassy. Yeah. Thanks so much for listening. I feel like more and more the Q&R code is becoming more of an animal stewardship and just, you know, Animal Girl Life podcast, and we can't help that. And that's the way that, our hearts are pulled. So
You know, we
thanks,
like food too.
obviously. Duh. We like food. We like interior design. We like art. We like
This is about
weed.
animal stewardship, food, and interior design.
And twinship.
And twinship. And yeah, whatever strikes your fancy. But I love talking about these animals, and they really are just what did you say earlier? Horses are the best teachers. Dogs are a teacher of their own, and so is sourdough starter, which this is the last little note I'm sliding at the end of the podcast for those who might care, that I think I made the best loaf I've ever made of all time this week. It was so like texture perfect. While I was baking, I could hear the crust and was like, yes, yeah, that's gonna be delicious.
Wow.
Pull it out, the crunch, the crackle. It was a olive, thyme, and parmesan loaf with thyme from my garden, and everything came together.
Hey.
The crumb was a delight. The flavor
I
so
have
on point.
goosebumps.
And yeah, really delectable. So
Well, that's just incredible news, and I'm happy that that's happened for you. Also, thanks for bringing it up, because I need to feed my starter because I have some loaves to make. So, yay! Can't wait to give you guys more of a Jimbo update. But sneak peek, today was their first day, his first day with Annie and Ghost, getting to have a little nose touch over the fence. So exciting stuff.
Yay.
I'm about to go check on them.
Well, give them kisses from all of us, and enjoy the rest of your week. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Leave us 5-star review, please. We appreciate you. Thanks for supporting. Give us a follow and give us a shout. Comment if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube. Thanks.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Goodbye.